Hold on to your seats, Habs fans. This season, the Montreal Canadiens have earned the title the Comeback Kids, rallying from behind in numerous games to defy the odds and ignite the ice with unparalleled intensity. From strategic mastery to relentless determination, they've carved a path to the playoffs out of nowhere. Join us as we break down the tactics, the rebuild, the key plays, the standout performance, and the amazing players that are propelling the Canadiens towards postseason glory and who have ignited this rebuild and created this rebuild in the proper, long-term, sustainable way. So let's discover how Coach St. Louis' innovative strategies and the team's unyielding sprint are starting to redefine excellence in Montreal. We specifically want to focus on this sweet little back pass. As we see, the players have two options. They can do the D-to-D, regroup up the wall there, and then bump it back into the middle, or they can just throw it right up the middle of the ice to look to bump it back to the middle. Regardless, watch how they take this power play, regroup, and move it in to neutral zone pressure, causing a lot of goals for Montreal this season. This play all starts with Struble, who ends up doing the quick up right up the side of the wall, right through the middle of the ice. That looks dangerous, but it is a set play. Suzuki makes a quick pass over the middle, puck crosses the Royal Road, and bang, in the back of the net it goes. Typically, a pass like this would be extremely dangerous for a team to make, but because St. Louis has them practicing this repeatedly, he knows exactly where his player is, and it works out well for the young defenseman, causing that goal for the Montreal Canadiens. Next, we see Hudson here doing it again, moving it up the strong side wall, a little bit more set like we saw in the playbook there. It moves over to Slafkovsky, who ends up coming in. He does not miss. What an absolute snipe show of a shot. But it's specifically this little moment here, this little bump pass here to Slafkovsky that allows him to pick up a lot of speed in the neutral zone. It's very hard to keep your gaps and maintain distance when you have this kind of speed coming in. And what we end up seeing is that gap gets absolutely blown apart by Slafkovsky. If you are outside a stick length here and you're outside by about a foot here, a player this good is going to go around you and make you pay for it. This is why that play is so valuable for Montreal. It pushes the defenseman back, it creates that gap, and that's why it was borrowed from a power play. Power plays do that drop pass to be able to create gap and distance at the blue line. The Montreal Canadiens have just instituted this 5-on-5. This is so well practiced for them as well. Even with a little flip to exit the zone, we see them getting that little bit of a delay. Did you see that? What a nice little leave there by Montreal. Suzuki ends up leaving that puck because he knows this is a set play. Slafkovsky picks it up because who else would it be? Ends up breaking down wide, uses that big shot, and puts it in the back of the net. Realistically, it's the same play. Different, but still same. The neutral zone for them is so deadly, though, all over the ice. Sometimes you don't need to make the little delayed back pass. You can just use speed, as we see Nick Suzuki here using his speed to stretch the ice. Quick little breakaway, nifty little move, and puts it in. And when you're on your horse like you see here, and you are able to create time and space like this and use your players with speed like St. Louis has them doing, why wouldn't you? Why force a play when you can just move that puck north to south?
The best players make the best reads, but if you take the reads out of the equation, those best players become average.
And that play isn't an accident. Here's another puck flip. Nick Suzuki in on the breakaway, bang, ends up burying that one. But unfortunately, it would come back because he was offside by just about this much. But again, you see this all year. You see this slashing through the neutral zone, this playing north-south with incredible speed that Martin St. Louis has the first line and the rest of the Montreal Canadiens doing. They aren't just neutral zone players, though, as well. Oh, no. They love to go low to high in the offensive zone. That low to high really keys in right here on number 48, Hudson, being able to pinch in down low and have that forward three loop through the middle here, like you'll see, and either choose to cover the defensive point if Hudson ends up getting burnt, or be open for that pass to score right in the back of the net when they need to. And here's an example in action of that beautiful low to high. Quick little rim around the boards. It's missed. Hudson's going to end up picking it off, coming down low. He gets stuck halfway on the wall. But did you see that? Did you see F3 coming to the middle in order to cover him? Here it is again. We see Hudson pitching in down, and now we're going to see F3 covering him up high to make sure that puck doesn't leave the zone. And it's that coverage up high here that allows Montreal to create the turnover. They end up moving it down the wall, stretching it wide, and now they have the numbers, and those numbers end up leading to it going into the back of the net. It's a very risky play, but it's a very smart, calculated, set play, and they've generated a lot of offense from this type of play. Let's take a look at a few more examples of that offensive zone pressure driven by those young defensemen and that Montreal Canadiens top line. Once again, that puck comes low to high. It's down. It's in the corner. They're outnumbered, so they end up moving it high so they can get numbers down low. It's a quick little shot into the corner. It doesn't work this time. That's fine. Puck hunters are on it. We are 2-on-2, moving that puck high to low again. And you saw how quickly they move that from low to high. That intense low to high move leaves it out here at the point. That puck ends up on the net. It's a quick little rebound. Backdoor, who's your daddy? Put it in the back of the net against the Islanders, going low to high. Once again here, one more time, low to high on the far wall here. It gets cut off a little bit in our clip, but who else is it going to go to? It's going to go to Hudson. You end up seeing it move back there. It goes back to the young defenseman who ends up stepping in, taking a quick shot. And this leads us into our next big one. It's those tips, those absolutely amazing tips that we see here from Slafkovsky. As that puck's coming in, it is bang. And another prime example against the Avalanche. It goes up to the neutral zone, and here is that little back pass. Now they end up delaying. Yes, it's a little bit of a battle on the boards here right now, but who's going to come out of it with the puck? It's Slafkovsky. He ends up in the high slot, and bang, he ends up burying it. And we see Montreal here again using that low to high. It ends up going out to the point. Boom, little tip in here again from Slafkovsky. It looks here at this angle like it's a little bit of a high stick as it ends up going in. It does count here. It does count. But the look on his face here says it all. I don't think that one's going to count. But hey, it was under the crossbar, or so they say. Last one here against the Avalanche. They end up moving it wide. Quick little shot on goal. It doesn't go in. Really nice save here and defensive pressure by the Habs. The puck hounds here of the Montreal Canadiens get on the puck. But what is the first thing they do? They take it to the corner. They go low to high. Quick shot in. Bang. Tip off Slafkovsky again. They sure do love that low to high in the offensive zone. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Maybe a magical run is on the way. But this rebuild is looking like it's been done the right way. So if I was a Habs fan, I'd be drooling over the talent and what this team is able to do right now. Just waiting to see what's going to happen with a couple more good years under these young guys' belts. But speaking of excitement, let's keep this rolling with the power play, shall we? There's really two forms of the power play they're looking at. They're either looking to move it over to Patrik Laine, who has one of the best shots in the league. He's right there with Alexander Ovechkin. Bang! He can end up emptying water bottles off the back of the net. He is such a strong, hard shot. He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to play much. Actually, a lot of times you'll end up seeing him not moving and not playing. The other four players are going to create motion, and Laine just waits. Wait. Where's the puck? Oh, thanks. There it is. You know it's going to Laine, but you can't stop it. That shot is just too good. That's why I consider him right up there with one of the best shooters in the league, just like Alexander Ovechkin. We saw him do it in Winnipeg. Yeah, he's had some challenges on and off the ice, but that shot is no joke. And sometimes if you have one trick, it can be the right trick, and that is a great trick to have if you're Patrik Laine. But speaking of that motion on the power play, we see it here. They use the other four players on the ice, the Slafkovskys, the Suzukis, the Caufields, and the Hudsons to move the puck. They create a lot of that mobility. This puck doesn't end up going in though. There are a lot of amazing angles that are played here on this play, but the puck doesn't go into the back of the net. And take a look at who's just standing there. They're almost playing 4-on-4, but it ends up being 4-on-3 on that side of the ice because Patrik Laine is standing over there. What we see is you just can't take your eyes off him. You have to have somebody by him. So you can't necessarily send forward to all the four rushers on that side because you have to deal with that shot for Laine. And he can really just hang out there at the top to the bottom of the circle, waiting to put that puck in the back of the net. Okay, so let's talk about the difficulties that they have this year and why I said in the middle of the video, I don't think they're going to be it in the playoffs, but I'm excited for the rebuild. And that's Matheson and Carrier and basically how the defense is built as a whole. The undersized defensemen like Matheson, Carrier, Hudson, and Struble. And yes, I get it. Matheson's 6'2", he's 196. I mean, that's average for a defenseman, but he's not big. The other three are undersized, and then you got Wi-Fi and Savard that are bigger. But those four guys that I just mentioned, the top four, they are really good at creating gap. They're really good at keeping stick on the puck. The problem is if that gap gets pushed off through physicality by players, that gap can be blown up quite quickly and they can be exploited. They can be exploited for goals against, just like we see here. Ends up going into the corner here against Anders Lee. Anders Lee is a big-time player with a big-time presence out there. He ends up pushing out of the way, creating that separation. Didn't do anything wrong here. It's just a guy that gets outpowered. It ends up in front of the goal, and it goes into the back of the net. Now, on to the big guys, Wi-Fi and Savard. You love to have big guys. The problem with big guys is sometimes they tend to be slow, and these guys have footwork that leaves something to be desired. You want to have guys like this on your team, but at the end of the day, they can't do what the little guys can do, which is get that time and space taken away by creating a gap. So their gap actually ends up not good enough, and they get exploited for the opposite reason. So one group is able to make good gap, but physically get pushed off the puck. The next group really wants to go ahead and create that gap. They just can't because their footwork isn't there. And we see that example here as Savard goes into the corner. He really wants to. You can see it as you slow it down. He has the exact right idea. Go into help. Don't stay in front of the net and just stand there. He knows it's there. They want to get numbers. He sees a puck that's loose. He takes those 2, 3, 4 strides, reaches in. He is just too slow, unfortunately. That slowness causes a little bit of a breakdown, and bang, it's in the back of the net. And that can happen here from the forwards. We see off the draw, the forwards are unable to get to their points quick enough. Because of that, that puck ends up going into the back of the net. There's a little bit of confusion here off the draw, but you don't want to be blocking a puck this far back. At the end of the day, the distance of this block shot is just too far away. This gap here is just far too big. It's far too hard for a goalie to stop, even at a bad angle there. You have to get your wingers out to the point quicker with less confusion. But this is what happens, though, when you're a little bit of a young team, and these are the things that Martin St. Louis will build and improve upon. Defense is one of the last things to come together as a team. I don't know why it is. They're coached on it from 12 years old all the way through. It is hammered in at every single level, but it is just that hard to play. All the pieces are there. A few or more are going to come in via free agency, draft, and trade, and this team's really going to be off to the races, but still really exciting right now. And speaking of exciting, we got to talk about Laine Hutson. Everybody wants to talk about this kid. At the end of the day, Hutson does one thing really, really well. He is an evasive skater. He knows how to change direction quickly, but more importantly, he knows how to fool the other team into thinking he's going the other way.
Time for a little evasive action. Hey, he's turning left!
Yes, like the little Simpsons clip there. He puts the signal on one way, boom, flips back the other way. He's not that big. He actually isn't that fast. Then I know I'm going to get hammered for it down there in the comments, but he's a really good defenseman. He's going to be a top 4 defenseman in the NHL, might even creep into the top 2. But if you let the kid do what the kid needs to do, and the media doesn't hammer him too hard in Montreal, he should blossom into a great player just like Shane Gostisbehere. But sometimes in Montreal, we just don't let it breathe a little bit. And you'll see here, there's a few examples. For all the great plays he makes, he does rush a few things here. This is age. This is also, just a little bit of a bad gap. He moves it up the wall to Seattle. No good. They end up putting it forward. Like I said, Montembeault's a good goalie. Bails him out there. We have another example of a play here too. Look, great little hands. Whoop! Very evasive skater. Just like I said, he can make you miss with the best of them, but he ends up losing that puck. Like I said, the skills got a little bit of place to go, and that puck turns right back around against them. Here's that decision-making point where Hutson has to make a better decision. He's going to go ahead and try to cross through the middle here and put it through the stick and the skates again. He's going to make too many moves. What he needs to be doing here is not doing that. What he needs to do is just quickly move it up the wall, quick little chip, and then he needs to break out into the middle here. Unfortunately, you saw on that play, as he doesn't do it, it's a quick turnover. The Kraken are gone. It's just a young defenseman making some mistakes. So let's not be so quick to anoint him the next coming, but let's also not pick on him too bad, because the guy has been absolutely electric for Montreal, and a big reason why Montreal is still in the playoff hunt today and will likely be a very scary team to play at 8th. Here's a great example of where he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Quick little breakout passes. Boom, right up there to the wall. Just one little pass, smooth, moved. They're down through the neutral zone, just like we talked about, and it's in the back of the net. Or it hits the iron, like that one did. Bing! Right off. So, recapping. Montreal on pace to be a very good team in the next 2 to 3 years. Heck, maybe even as soon as next year. They are a good team right now. They're electric. They're the comeback kids. It is so fun to watch the Bell Center. The roof is exploding in this place right now. They have no shortage of talent. Struble, Hudson. Take a look at that first line. Suzuki, Caufield, Lukowski, Laine on the point. They brought in players all over the lineup. You got guys like Brendan Gallagher doing exactly what Gally still likes to do. Mix it up on the fourth line and on the third line to cause breakaways, be an absolute terror for other teams to play against. Wi-Fi beating guys up when you need it to beat guys up. Montreal has a very, very bright future. Thank you for staying tuned to this channel. And if you want more great hockey breakdowns, take a look at a team in the West that you're probably not watching if you got your eyes on the East and the playoff race. The best team in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets. Great breakdown for you to see. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.